Do veterans know sacrifice? The phrase, they knew what they were signing up for, has become controversial recently.
So, Congressman, let's talk about that. What did you hear? Tell us about this phone call.
Well, I didn't hear the whole phone call, but I did hear him say, I'm sure he knew what he was signing up for, and but it still hurts.
This is why many veterans can't stand politicians. Incidents like this, with a congresswoman politicizing a condolence call. Newsflash, the ones doing the fighting know the cost. Ask any veteran from the past, or any veteran from the past 16 years that did 1, 2, or 10 combat tours, if they know the cost. You'll get one answer. John Kelly, a general who lost his own son in the war, had this to say.
I was stunned when I came to work yesterday morning and brokenhearted at what I saw a member of Congress doing. A member of Congress who listened in on a phone call from the President of the United States to a young wife, and in his way tried to express that opinion. He's a brave man, a fallen hero. He knew what he was getting himself into because he enlisted.
After Kelly's remarks, a Hillary Clinton campaign aide said this. Kelly isn't just an enabler of Trump. He's a believer in him. That makes him as odious as the rest. Don't be distracted by the uniform. Kelly is revolting, aka odious. Kelly lost his own son in the war. He served in the war, yet liberals call Kelly revolting. No. Your attacks against General Kelly for calling out the Congresswoman and her despicable politics, that's revolting. We should respect our nation and those men and women who gave the ultimate sacrifice, and not turn a condolence call into something political. I'm not surprised though. After all, it's acceptable in some circles to disrespect the nation's flag during the playing of our national anthem. The same flag that treats all who die under it the same, regardless of who you are. Democrats in the media are going to keep taking swipes at Trump. It's politics, I get it. But I reject using a dead American soldier and his grieving family in an attempt to bring down the commander-in-chief. This reminds me of another shameful episode when some politicians stood up for a few seconds for Gold Star wife Karen Owens, but then promptly sat down. Meanwhile, this widow was literally weeping with sadness and clapping in honor of her husband's sacrifice. It was a very emotional moment. Many politicians and their media sympathizers couldn't be bothered with such emotion, though. They had to resist Trump and try their best not to legitimize him, even if that meant disrespecting our nation's fallen heroes. Phrases like nausea-inducing, shameful, gross, parading, disgusting stunt were used to describe the honoring of this soldier. A former Hillary campaign worker described the war widow Karen Owens accepting the thanks of a grateful nation as just standing there and clapping like an idiot. Isn't there a pattern here? The same political party that sat while a Gold Star wife was receiving a standing ovation is the same group of folk who used a sacred moment, a condolence call, to attack the president. Then they attack the veteran who said, hey, using a condolence call for politics isn't right. The men and women who served this country served everyone, regardless of your political beliefs. Don't use their deaths to attack your political opponent. This Veterans Day, remember that this nation is protected by a tiny percentage of Americans. Many gave their life.
Who are these young men and women? They are the best 1% this country produces. Most of you, as Americans, don't know them. Many of you don't know anyone who knows any one of them. But they are the very best this country produces. And they volunteer to protect our country when there's nothing in our country anymore that seems to suggest that self-service to the nation is not only appropriate but required.
Those politicians in the media who don't like the military should know this. Those who fight know the sacrifice. Those who have given their last measure of devotion deserve our respect, regardless of our politics. This war has cost so few, so much. So this Veterans Day, let's remember that sacrifice.